what if your struggle to conceive isn't because your reproductive system is broken, but because it's, working perfectly to protect you?
Right. From an environment that it basically deems too dangerous for life.
Yeah.
It's this really profound biological paradox. I mean, we're so conditioned to view fertility issues as just this mechanical failure, right? Like a broken part that needs fixing.
Yeah. Plumbing issue.
Exactly. But biologically speaking, reproduction is a luxury system.
Oh, wow. A luxury system.
Yeah, it really is. If your body perceives any kind of systemic danger, whether that's, rampant inflammation or chronic stress or even just compromised blood flow, it doesn't break down. It intentionally powers down the reproductive system.
Just to conserve energy for basic survival.
Exactly.
Okay, let's unpack this because that reframing, it changes absolutely everything about how we approach this topic.
It really does.
So today we are diving into a massive paradigm shift in reproductive medicine. We've got this fascinating set of clinical notes and methodologies from the Berkley Center for Reproductive Wellness.
Right, over New York City.
Yeah, exactly, New York City. Founded by Mike Berkley, who is an acupuncturist and a fellow of the American Board of Oriental Reproductive Medicine. And for, over 2 decades, they've focused exclusively on this evidence-informed, whole-body approach to creating and sustaining a healthy pregnancy.
And, that singular focus is really what allows them to look past that isolated mechanical view we were just talking about.
Right.
They aren't just staring at the eggs and the sperm in a vacuum. They're looking at the entire biological ecosystem.
Because those organs aren't acting alone?
No, not at all. Those reproductive organs are constantly taking cues from your brain, your immune system, your circulatory system, all of it.
Right. If the surrounding environment is hostile, the seed really doesn't matter. And the notes we're looking at today highlight these 7 hidden factors that actually make a body capable of creating life. But I have to say, looking at this list, it's genuinely surprising.
Yeah, it throws people off.
We have balanced hormones, healthy blood flow to the uterus, optimal sperm parameters, and a receptive uterine lining.
Which all make total intuitive sense.
Right. Those are the obvious ones. But then they list regulated immune function, low levels of systemic inflammation, and strong mitochondrial function.
Yeah.
Why is a fertility clinic looking at cellular energy? Half of these don't even sound like reproductive issues at all.
Well, it's because the division of cells to create an embryo, it requires an absolutely immense amount of biological energy.
Okay.
Mitochondria are literally the microscopic power plants inside your cells. So if your mitochondrial function is weak, the egg literally just doesn't have the electrical currency to divide and grow properly. Yeah, even if its DNA is perfect. And similarly, if you have systemic inflammation from, say, an underlying gut issue or an autoimmune flare-up, your body is essentially on fire.
And you cannot cultivate life in a burning building.
Exactly.
It makes me think of, trying to grow a really delicate orchid in a chaotic greenhouse.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Right. You can have the absolute best genetically perfect seeds in the whole world, but if the soil is toxic with inflammation, or, the irrigation system is blocked so there's no blood flow, or the thermostat is totally broken because your cellular energy is shot, nothing is going to grow. The seed is totally useless without the right environment.
That is the exact biological reality. You have to tend to the greenhouse before you plant the seed.
But, okay, I have to play devil's advocate for you here, or at least for the listener, especially someone who is already dealing with severe fertility burnout.
Oh, absolutely. It's exhausting.
It sounds completely overwhelming. Do I need to be biologically flawless? What happens if just, one of these 7 intricate factors is slightly off?
Right. Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to remember the human body is remarkably resilient.
Okay.
You definitely do not need to be flawless. But when multiple hidden factors, like, say, slight insulin resistance combined with low-grade inflammation, when those start stacking up, conception becomes significantly more difficult.
So it's a compounding effect.
Exactly. The strategy here isn't to chase perfection. The Berkley Center's methodology is basically designed to address all of these interconnected elements simultaneously.
Okay.
So you're calming the entire ecosystem so your body actually feels safe enough to shift out of that survival mode and into creation mode.
So how do you actually signal to the body that it's safe? Because, a lot of people hear the word acupuncture and they immediately think of ancient mysticism or just a placebo effect.
Oh, for sure.
Let's be real. Putting a needle in your ankle to fix your ovaries sounds like literal magic to a lot of Western patients.
It does sound like magic, but it is deeply, measurably physiological. I mean, we are talking about targeted microtrauma.
Microtrauma.
Yeah. When a hair-thin needle is inserted into highly specific points on the body, it creates a microscopic sensory response. And that triggers the peripheral nervous system to send a high-speed signal up your spinal cord directly to the brain.
Oh, wow.
You are essentially hacking the body's communication network.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. Because if the brain gets that signal, how does it translate to a physical change? Like, say, building a thicker uterine lining?
It all comes down to vasodilation.
Okay, break that down for me.
So when the brain receives those specific peripheral signals from the needle, it responds by releasing vasodilators, like nitric oxide, into the bloodstream.
Right.
And this physically forces the blood vessels to widen and relax.
Okay, so it opens up the pipes.
Exactly. And enhanced circulation is what physically delivers the oxygen, the nutrients, and the hormones required to nourish a developing follicle. I mean, you literally cannot build a thick, receptive uterine lining without a robust, newly formed vascular network feeding it.
That makes total sense. And what about the hormone side of the equation? Because I know anyone going through fertility treatments hears the terms FSH and LH thrown around constantly.
Oh, constantly, yeah.
How is the nervous system interacting with those hormones?
Well, FSH is follicle-stimulating hormone,
Hmm.
which tells your ovaries to grow an egg. And LH is luteinizing hormone, which surges to actually trigger ovulation.
Right.
Both of these are secreted by the pituitary gland in your brain under the direction of the hypothalamus.
Okay.
So by modulating that brain-body signaling pathway through the nervous system, acupuncture helps regulate the hypothalamus. It basically helps conduct the symphony.
Making sure everything is perfectly timed.
Exactly, ensuring those critical hormones peak and drop at the exact right moment in your cycle.
Man, that is fascinating. And, we have to talk about the stress component here. Because this brings up the most infuriating advice anyone struggling with fertility ever received.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Just relax.
Yep, just relax.
Take a vacation. It's so dismissive. It implies it's the patient's fault. And it honestly just makes people want to scream.
It's the worst advice.
It really is. But setting the terrible delivery of that advice aside, biologically, what is the stress actually doing to the body?
It's a vital question. Because chronic stress isn't just a feeling. It is a corrosive chemical state.
A chemical state.
Yeah, it continuously elevates hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your central nervous system essentially believes you are constantly being chased by a predator.
Wow.
And if you're running for your life, biology dictates that it is the worst possible time to reproduce.
Right. You shouldn't be having a baby if a tiger's chasing you.
Exactly. So that high cortisol actively downregulates the reproductive system.
So what does the acupuncture do for that?
What acupuncture does is stimulate the vagus nerve. And that forces the nervous system to physically drop out of that fight or flight sympathetic state.
Oh, I see.
It shifts it into the parasympathetic rest and restore mode.
Yeah.
It literally chemically disarms the threat response.
That makes so much more sense. It's not about relaxing your mind with a bubble bath. It's about biochemically forcing your nervous system to stand down.
Exactly.
And I imagine that same vagal response helps with implantation, right? Because if you're stressed, your muscles are tight. Does the uterus actually tense up?
It absolutely does. Poor blood flow and high stress can cause microscopic spasms and tension in the uterine muscle.
Oh, geez.
And an embryo is incredibly delicate. It needs a very calm, relaxed, nutrient-rich environment to attach and begin cellular division.
So decreasing that uterine tension is physically stabilizing the soil, like in our garden analogy.
Right, exactly. Stabilizing it so the embryo isn't rejected by mechanical spasms.
So acupuncture is doing the heavy lifting on the neurological signaling, the blood flow, and the nervous system.
Yep.
But what about the chemical environment? Like, if someone has raging inflammation, how do we fix that? And this brings us to the customized herbal medicine side of the methodology.
Yes.
And I really want to clarify here, we aren't talking about generic bottles that just say fertility blend at the local pharmacy.
No, not at all. Generic supplements are kind of like using a megaphone to shout a nutritional message into the body.
Just hoping someone hears it.
Right, just hoping the reproductive organs hear it over all the other biological noise.
Right. Customized herbs, on the other hand, act a lot more like a highly encrypted direct message sent straight to specific cell receptors.
Perfect way to describe it.
But I have to ask, because the notes mention using herbs to modulate overactive immune responses,
Yeah.
that sounds like a massive biological undertaking.
It is.
How does a plant extract actually suppress natural killer cells without leaving the patient totally immune compromised and sick?
Well, what's fascinating here is the distinction between suppressing the immune system and modulating it.
Okay, suppressing versus modulating.
Yeah. Pharmaceuticals often suppress, meaning they shut the whole system down,
Yeah.
which, as you said, does leave you vulnerable to illness.
Right.
But customized herbs utilize adaptogenic compounds. So if the immune system is hyperactive and producing too many inflammatory cytokines, which are just the chemical messengers that cause inflammation,
Okay.
specific herbs interact with the immune receptors to calm that specific cytokine storm down to a baseline level
Wow.
without turning off the body's ability to fight off a regular cold.
That level of specificity really explains why two patients can't just take the same generic pill.
Exactly.
Like, if we look at something like PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, two women might walk into the Berkley Center with that exact same label.
Same exact diagnosis.
Right, but their custom herbal formulas would be entirely different. Why is that?
Because the underlying driver of that syndrome might be completely different in their unique biological ecosystem. Like one patient's PCOS might be driven primarily by severe insulin resistance. Her body's just pumping out excess insulin, which actually thickens the outer capsule of the ovary and prevents the egg from escaping.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So her custom herbs need to focus heavily on metabolic regulation.
While the second patient might not have an insulin issue at all. Yeah.
Exactly. Her PCOS might be driven by, say, adrenal excess and systemic inflammation from a gut biome issue.
Okay.
If you give her the metabolic herbs that the first patient got, they won't do a thing. A customized formula targets her specific inflammatory markers and adrenal output.
And it's not just for the female side of the equation either. I feel like we tend to sideline male factor fertility, even though it's involved in, what, nearly half of all challenges?
Yep, nearly half.
The methodology notes that customized herbs are highly effective for improving sperm count, motility, and morphology.
They are.
And it specifically mentions combating oxidative stress. What exactly is that in this context?
Think of oxidative stress as cellular rusting.
Resting. Okay.
Yeah. Sperm are highly vulnerable single cells. When they are exposed to environmental toxins, poor diet, or even just heat, they are bombarded by free radicals.
Which are bad.
Very bad. They are unstable molecules that literally damage the sperm's DNA and membrane, just like oxygen rusts metal over time.
Yikes.
Yeah. Customized herbal medicine provides potent, targeted antioxidants that neutralize those free radicals, and that protects the sperm throughout its entire 3-month development life cycle.
3 whole months. Wow. Which perfectly bridges us to a really tragic hurdle in this whole journey. We spend so much time talking about achieving conception,
Right.
but for many people, the equally vital and honestly often much more painful hurdle is maintaining a healthy pregnancy. Recurrent pregnancy loss is just devastating.
It really is. And historically, the medical advice was often just, well, it's bad luck, try again.
Which is so tough to hear.
It's awful. And they'd say that without actually investigating the environment that caused the loss in the first place.
But the Berkley Center advocates for a highly proactive approach here. They don't just wait and see. What are the specific biological culprits behind early pregnancy loss? Like, why does the body suddenly reject the pregnancy?
The clinical data points to a few major culprits. First is luteal phase deficiency.
Okay.
This simply means the body isn't producing enough progesterone after ovulation. And progesterone is the hormone responsible for keeping the uterine lining thick and stable.
So without enough of it.
Without enough progesterone, the lining begins to shed, and it takes the embryo with it.
And what about the immune overactivity we touched on earlier? Because I've heard that the body can sometimes mistake the embryo for an invader.
That's absolutely true. Biologically, half of the embryo's DNA comes from the sperm, right? So it is entirely foreign to the mother's body.
Oh, right.
A healthy immune system undergoes a very specific shift to tolerate this foreign entity.
Yeah.
But if the immune system is hyperactive, or if there is already a blazing fire of systemic inflammation,
Like we talked about with the burning building.
exactly, then the body fails to make that tolerant shift. The natural killer cells treat the embryo like a virus and basically attack it.
Man. So what does this all mean for a patient who has lived through this heartbreak? How does this methodology actually protect the next pregnancy?
The strategy shifts from merely hoping for a positive test to intentionally building an impenetrable biological fortress around the early pregnancy.
Fortress, I like that.
Yeah. It involves prescribing targeted herbal support to drastically lower inflammation months before conception.
Yeah.
It means carefully timed acupuncture protocols to force steady blood flow to the uterus during the crucial implantation window.
Right.
And it utilizes precise supplementation to support progesterone production, guiding the biological environment towards stability before and during that critical first trimester.
It's all about doing the deep detective work to build resilience into the system.
Absolutely.
Now, everything we've talked about today, the nervous system hacking, the deep biochemistry of the herbs, the proactive miscarriage prevention, I mean, it sounds incredible.
It is a game changer.
But the obvious barrier here is geography. If someone doesn't live in New York City, how do they access this level of niche detective work?
Right, because geography has traditionally dictated the quality of specialized care you receive.
Yeah.
But the collaborative clinical models has completely changed that.
Right. Mike Berkley actually conducts in-depth phone and video consultations internationally.
Yep.
And what strikes me isn't just that it's a telehealth call, it's the sheer depth of the intake process. They are reviewing your entire medical history, analyzing your specific lab work, looking at the exact medications in your upcoming IVF or IUI protocols.
Oh, yeah, they look at everything.
And tracking down those hidden inflammatory and immune markers.
They're essentially stepping in as the specialized clinical strategist. They find the blind spots that standard, 15-minute appointments simply do not have the time to uncover.
And my absolute favorite part of this collaborative blueprint is how it integrates with your local community.
Yeah, this is great.
If you do this distance consultation, they formulate and ship the customized herbal medicine and the specialized meal plan directly to you. But they also write up a highly detailed, personalized acupuncture protocol that you literally hand to your local acupuncturist in your own hometown.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it empowers the patient to get world-class, multi-decade reproductive expertise guiding the physical hands of a local practitioner.
Yeah.
It completely removes the guesswork for everyone involved.
It democratizes the access. For anyone who wants to understand how this collaborative model looks in practice, or, who feels like they're stuck on a conveyor belt of generic treatments, the clinical notes provide their central hub at www.berkleycenter.com. or by calling 212-685-0985.
Right.
But the real takeaway here isn't just the clinic itself. It's the realization that geography shouldn't trap you into a one-size-fits-all plan.
Exactly.
Oh,
It represents a maturation of natural medicine. It is no longer viewed as just some quirky alternative to Western science.
yeah, definitely not.
It is a profound, evidence-based complement to it, utilizing biochemistry and neurology to optimize the whole body, while Western medicine handles the structural and advanced reproductive technologies.
Okay, let's bring this all together. The core realization of today's deep dive is that fertility care is finally shifting.
It really is.
We are moving away from the isolated mechanical view of just looking at eggs and sperm in a vacuum. By regulating the nervous system, modulating the immune response, and using customized biochemistry to extinguish cellular inflammation, we can actually cultivate an internal ecosystem where life can thrive.
This raises an important question, though.
Yeah.
One that really challenges how we view our day-to-day health.
Oh, what's that?
Well, if fertility is so intrinsically tied to our systemic inflammation, our immune function, our blood flow, and our daily stress hormones,
Right.
is our individual fertility actually acting as a crucial warning system? Is it a biological mirror reflecting the hidden underlying health of our entire body?
Wow. That completely flips the script. It means a fertility struggle isn't necessarily a broken part. It might be the dashboard warning light for your entire biological ecosystem. You aren't a machine. You are a complex, interconnected garden, and sometimes you just need the right expert to help you understand the soil. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep exploring, keep questioning the generic answers, and we'll see you next time.